Alright, so this is the latest film by Corey Finley, who previously brought us Thoroughbreds, which happens to have been one of my favorite movies the year it came out. I loved it. So naturally I was rather excited to see what he'd come up with next. Although he didn't write this one, it's actually written by Mike Makovsky, who previously wrote I Think We're Alone Now, that I thought was rather interesting. However, it did have some issues, but I'm happy to report that this doesn't really. At least not when it comes to the writing, because this is a clear improvement. It's actually very sharp and very well written, both from the storytelling perspective and from a dialogue point of view. It's some of my favorite writing all year so far, and yeah, I was impressed. And the story here primarily follows a superintendent for a high school on Long Island, played by Hugh Jackman. He's apparently very capable and extremely popular. Everyone basically loves him. But of course things can't go all smoothly, and it turns out that there might be some, how should I put it, some financial shenanigans going on. Everything might not be on the up and up. So we get to see the story start to unfold from the point of view of several characters, including a student, played by the actress from the recent movie Hala, that I thought was great in this. In fact, I thought pretty much everyone did a great job, especially Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney. They were just phenomenal, and I loved them in this, but I can't really complain about any of the supporting cast either. Which I guess brings me to the filmmaking and the overall tone of this. Because I gotta say, the way this is put together is fantastic, and the tone is so unique too. It has this, I don't know if this is the right word, but this satirical approach to it, where it takes a rather serious subject matter, essentially plays it straight, but still manages to make it hilarious. It basically points out the absurdity of the situation and portrays it in a way where you can't really help but to laugh. Because sometimes real life is way more ridiculous than anything you could come up with. Oh, and yeah, this is actually based on real events, and from what I could gather, a lot of this is actually true. I mean, some of the details are most likely made up, and I'm sure they took some creative liberties here and there, but a lot of the more outlandish stuff is actually real, and yeah, the story gets pretty crazy. And the way this movie tells the story and how it just gradually eases you into it is brilliant. Although if I do have one complaint, it's that the very beginning felt rather dry. I was actually quite skeptical there for a while, until the sandwich scene took place. That's essentially when the movie won me over and convinced me that it was probably gonna be a good one. And it is. This is a very good movie all around. I didn't really have any significant issues with it. I mean, everything from the direction to the writing, the action, the editing, the pacing, not to mention this kinda strange percussive score, it's just very well handled. And everything just fits together and ends up making for a pretty great little movie. Now, I personally don't think it's quite on the level of Thoroughbreds, but it's good. And I will say that there are some layers to it as well, especially when it comes to the main character, and his motivations and reasons for doing what he did, and how he justified it to himself. It honestly made a lot of sense in a weird way, and while I wouldn't necessarily condone his behavior, he had his reasons, and they weren't necessarily terrible reasons. The logic behind it was fairly solid, and that somehow got me to feel for him and sympathize with him, even though he's perhaps not as great of a guy as he's portrayed as in the beginning, which isn't really giving away much as this story has so many good reveals that just keep on coming. But yeah, I like this one, it's really good. However, would I recommend it? Yeah, definitely, go check it out, or you know, you could also not do that. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.